Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to another Big Money Friday as we get closer to week 2 of the NFL season. Well, technically, it kicked off last night, but we'll get even closer with betting lines today with Matt Wright joining as he does on every Friday. We're going to get into the college football weekend. A lot of interesting stuff on the show. We're going to get every game, the betting lines. We're talking about best bets for college this weekend. A number of really interesting games. A number of games with intriguing lines where there might be some good betting favorites. There's a couple dogs that I particularly like that I think will be barking this weekend. So we'll get into that as well. And we're also going to talk about a couple of Matt Wright's favorite teams. We'll talk about the game of the week for the both of us. We have to talk about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish because they've been pathetic so far this season. They're playing home to Cal this weekend, 13.5-point favorites. Woof, woof. So we'll talk about Matt Wright with all when it comes to all of that. And before he joins in about half hour's time, it's last night we got a good game. Thursday Night Football is the start of Thursday Night Football on Amazon. And I want to start with the broadcast before we get to the game. I thought it was okay. I did listen to most of the game. If you haven't listened to the point before, a number of sports I listen to on mute. That's just the way I enjoy it. I like to listen to music when I watch games or listen to a podcast. And let's just be honest, some of the broadcasters just suck. They're not good at what they do. And I just don't enjoy listening to a game. Kirk Herbstreit, I have a ton of respect for. I think he's one of the best at his profession, at what he does. So I have a ton of respect for Herbie and the job that he does on telecast with the mothership and now with Amazon. Looking at last night, I thought him and Al had a decent rapport. They had a few jokes. I thought Al threw him a few things a couple times that he could have said, like, what's the play coming up? Can you predict what they're going to do? He didn't really jump on it. I think he missed a few opportunities. It was their first real broadcast together, so they're going to need some time to get used to one another. But I think they were solid. They had a few big moments, Herbert getting hit, and they were describing that. So I thought that was good. I think this will be a good broadcast. To be honest, I think the NFL is in a good position right now where on Monday Night Football, Buck and Aikman are my personal favorite. I think they're the best. They've been doing it together for so long. Troy in the last number of years has really embraced just being himself in the booth. He's not afraid to tell people that they did something wrong, to call out Jerry Jones, to call out just teams. He's not afraid to do it. I have respect for that. That's the way you should approach the job. It's not about making friends, it's about doing the job correctly. I thoroughly enjoy Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olsen. I think they're both extremely good. They're going to be calling the Super Bowl this year. We'll have to enjoy them for a little bit. Tom Brady's going to replace Greg Olsen. I have no idea if Tom Brady will be any good in the booth. Based on what I've seen so far in his career when it comes to on the mic, I don't have a whole lot of faith in him. He's boring. He doesn't bring a whole lot to the table, but I like this booth. Sunday night, it's okay. Chris Collingsworth, to me, is either love him or you hate him. I think an older crowd would love Chris Collingsworth. He's just okay for me. He's not fantastic. He's not bad. I think he's pretty good at what he does. I'll be honest, him and Tirico, they're fine. I think Al Michaels made Chris Collingsworth better and not the other way around. His first two telecasts with Tirico weren't as good as any with him and Al Michaels. And Al Michaels is one of the best broadcasters ever. And that's not hyperbolic. He's on that list with Vin Scully, with Bob Costas. When it comes to sports journalism, Al Michaels is at the forefront. So I think the NFL is and CBS, Nance, and Romo are fine. Tony? So you got the NFL is in a good spot when it comes to how they broadcast their games, how they produce and provide us the content. I give them credit for that because for a long time, Monday Night Football was a trash can. They went through the Witten era with Booger McFarland on that little bike, and I forget, it was Joe Tess who was actually decent calling college football games, but it just didn't work. Witten was so bad, just so bad in the boost. That was never going to work. I like Louis Riddick. He's going to be calling a Monday Night Football game this week with Dan Orlovsky and Steve Levy. So I don't think that's a bad panel either. There's a doubleheader on Monday Night Football this week. So opposed to other sports, the NFL is the best sport. It makes the most money. Everything you want with the NFL, it does it. And I also think they have the best boost. They have the best broadcasts of anything. When it comes to hockey, I don't think there's that many great broadcasts of hockey games. CBC, I think Chris Cuthbert is as good as it gets. He's another all-timer when it comes to broadcast. I'm not a Craig Simpson guy. I think the guy's a homer. I've said that many, many times. Ray Ferraro, Gord Miller, extremely good. They have no biases. They call a game. I appreciate what they do. But you look at every other game's a regional broadcast, and it's as if you're listening to the team putting words in that person's mouth. You don't see that in the NFL because it's Fox, it's CBS. There's no, okay, this is how I want you to say it. It's just about providing a good product. There's no bias there. Unless you're listening to radio, which who listens to a radio NFL broadcast? Not me, I'll tell you that. If I was, I'd be listening on mute, so I wouldn't be able to hear it. Baseball is bad. I mean, I love Dan Shulman. I don't love Buck. The Blue Jays broadcast, they're homer galore. You go around baseball, John Schmaltz on Fox, he's okay. It's okay. The ESPN broadcast, okay. They got the A-Rod cast. I haven't listened to that once. No interest. He's got more personality than Jeter, but that's not saying much because Jeter has none. So, again, baseball's not as good. Hockey isn't as good. Basketball will be the second to me. I think there's some good broadcast. I think Stan Van Gundy is very good with Spiridides. Doris Burke is great. The Mark Jackson crew's okay with Coach Van Gundy and Mike Breen. But the NFL provides the best product. They've worked hard to get good boosts to provide us the content. And when you make that kind of money, that's how it should be. You should have really good people in the booth providing us with really good information that's accurate. So I give them credit for it, but at the same time, it's how it should be. You have the biggest brand. You have the most money. You're on Amazon, for Christ's sakes. Jeff Bezos sitting in a luxury box with Roger Goodell last night. That was quite a scene. You had Goodell, Bezos talking about God knows what, and then you have Bezos' new wife or girlfriend. She looked about half his age sitting next to him. Good for Jeff. That was a scene. That was a scene. Seeing her sitting there with her Converse on the rail while he's talking business or whatever else, pleasure, with Roger Goodell. But Amazon, they had a few glitches. But I think people are going to hate the Amazon broadcast because it's different. I saw that on Twitter last night. Why would they even go to Amazon? Okay, well, this is the new world, people. Shit's going to be, you look at the streaming services. They make more money than network television. I know that's hard to really figure. Amazon, all these Apple, they make more money than Fox, than CBS, and all these shitty public. What else? They're known for football and having shitty news. That's what all these local stations are for. ABC has Good Morning America. Great. Democrats, tune in. Fox, we got Fox and Friends with Tucker Carlson and Will Cain, and great. Republicans, tune in. That's not where the money is. Apple has the money. Amazon has the money. I mean, for Christ's sakes, Prime created the Lord of the Rings spinoff, The Rings of Power, and they spent over $1 billion on an 8-episode show. That's nothing to them. That might tank. I've heard good things. I'm going to watch it. Look at Crave. HBO Max making House of the Dragon, whatever the hell it's called. Game of Thrones spinoff. I'm not going to watch it, but millions of people are. That's where the money is. In the next 20 years, Amazon will continue to have NFL rights. I believe HBO, if they want to be in that business, can. And I fully expect Apple to be in there too. You're telling me, okay, the main cat might be in the ground. Steve Jobs, he might be dead. But there's other people there, rich, ignorant people. Ignorance, I use ignorant too much when it comes to rich people. Maybe because I want to be rich and I'm nowhere close. But no, that's not true because most of these rich people that I criticize are shitty people. But nevertheless, back on topic. Apple, the people that run it there, they're looking at Amazon, they get jealous. Because they say, we were better than Bezos. We want to be in this business. Soon enough, they'll have the rights to something. Next media deal, these people are going to be players. So it's not, oh, we hate the Amazon broadcast. Let's hate it enough so they get rid of it. No. It's not about if people like it. You got a good booth. They had a few glitches. It's about money. That's where the world is. That's where the NFL is. If you have the money, if you have the influence, if you have the power, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Apple, Amazon, HBO Max, all these streaming services have that. I mean, look at Netflix. They're panicking and they're asking people to spend more money on a shitty product because they're like, we had the streaming world by the balls and now everybody's lapping us. Apple's got all these great shows. Blackbird, they got Ted Lasso and really good movies. They're pumping new product out all the time. That's great. Apple had a movie win the Oscar last year. I forget the name of it now. It's a really good movie. I'm mad that I forget it. It's about deaf people. It's fantastic. Amazon's got Ring of Power. They got good shows. That's where this is going. Entertainment business, football, all these major sports are linked. TNT, ESPN, Fox, CBS, TSN, whatever here in Canada, look out. Great. You'll have the 60-plus range of people that like to have TV so they can tune in and listen to the news and listen to SportsCenter at 6 a.m. while they do dumbbell curls. But guess what? When all those people are dead or in a nursing home, the next generation doesn't give a crap about that. They stream. They're not buying Bell. They're not buying a package because they know technology. They know how it works. I didn't expect to start the show like this today. But that was my takeaway. It was Twitter last night. I said, and these are young people on Twitter. I mean, there's some 40-year-old idiots. There's a lot of idiots on Twitter. Wish I didn't have Twitter, but I have to. Just to follow everything when I get my updates on sports and whatnot. But do these people not see the future? The future's not Fox and Friends. The future isn't Good Morning America with little Georgie and Michael Strahan. Who cares? That's going away. Sorry, Mom. The future is streaming, online. Figure it out. For the young people, the kids, teach your parents how it works. Because soon enough, your dad, who's 65, who's crushed about 5 Miller Lights before the 2 o'clock football game starts, is going to say, how the hell do I watch this anymore? Because he doesn't know how to run the remote, and he doesn't know what to do. He knows to go to Fox. Oh, wait, nothing's there. Because what this is, they're in a good place right now. Fox has 2 in the next 3 Super Bowls. They're safe for now. But there's always the next media rights deal. And guess what? It's a bidding war. The NFL has allegiance to Fox right now. They have allegiance to CBS right now. ABC, ESPN. But if you get outbid by HBO Max, if you get outbid by Apple, which they will, the NFL is not staying with who was with them when the going was tough. Because the going isn't tough right now. The going is great. It's a feeding frenzy. There's money everywhere. The NFL prints money. Players are making more than they ever have. Guys are getting guaranteed contracts. Offensive linemen are getting partially guaranteed contracts. That never happened before. You could cut a player like he's a piece of meat for 70 years. No more. There's so much money, even the players are benefiting. That's how you know these owners are making money. They're making big money because before the players couldn't benefit even when they were making a pile of money. But they're making even more now that they're like, you know what? Let's give the players some benefits. Let's help them out financially a little bit. Let's help their pension fund because they're making billions and billions. Jerry Jones is trying to find another cure to prolong his life because he's making so much damn money every year. He's 78, 79. He wants to be 179 because he's like, holy crap, 100 years from now, we're going to be making a pile of money playing football on Mars. Dak Prescott still might be my quarterback if I can preserve him long enough. I kid. But that was my takeaway before the game last night. This streaming service, this generation is going nowhere. The world, the football news is shifting online. It already has. To think you go on the TV to read your news, I haven't gone to any station to listen to news in probably a decade. When I used to live with my parents, they throw on Good Morning America. It's a crap product and whatever. They like it. They're old. They enjoy that. I would never choose to listen to that. Who's spending 2 hours of their day listening to those people go on? I go to the Washington Post like a regular human being because I have a subscription. It's worth the money. And I read really good journalists. Go to New York Post, online, New York Times. That's how I consume my stuff. But that's the way the world's going. So for the people that are complaining about Amazon today, thinking that the complaints that this was crap last night, this is a flash in the pan, it's going nowhere. The future is online. The future is Amazon. The future is Apple when it comes to getting your sports product. I'm not sure TNT is going to have the NBA rights in the next deal. Because if a streaming service wants it enough, they'll get it. Why? Because they have more money than Turner. They have more money than the mothership. Period. That's how life works. That's how this is going to work. So as I reiterated about a minute ago, teach your parents, learn how to get online, to watch a game on Amazon Prime, to get Apple. Because you're going to need these subscriptions if you're a sports fan. ESPN Plus, growing month over month. You need to watch your UFC in the States. You need ESPN Plus. How? You stream it. That's the new way of the world. Embrace it or die. Well, you won't die, but you won't be able to watch your sports, which to me is basically death anyway. So maybe you take that same stance as me. But let's get to Thursday Night Football. 18 minutes into the show, and I didn't even get there yet, but that was fun. Thursday Night Football, Chargers, Chiefs. Interesting game, to say the least. I have a number of thoughts on what I thought was an interesting game. It wasn't as high scoring as people thought, but I didn't really think it would be. My first big takeaway from this game last night, where the Chiefs defeated the Chargers 27-24, was what happened to Brandon Staley? What happened to the coach that had the most fourth down gambles last season? Will the real Brandon Staley please stand up? Because he was not at Arrowhead Stadium last night. He was MIA. In the first half alone, he had 3 instances where he had a 4th and 2, punt, field goal. Cost you the game, big boy. Why aren't you going? Did the media kill him? Did Brandon Staley, a Dayton grad, wilt? Did he wilt because people didn't like that he was going for it on 4th down? They didn't appreciate his stance that, hey, we're risking it for the biscuit. He lost his edge. I'm looking at the game last night thinking, why? Why didn't you go for it on 3 4th and 2s in the first half against the best player in the sport, Patrick Mahomes? If you don't think he is, sorry. But your defense is playing fantastic. So even if you turn over the ball, you telling me the Chiefs are going to score? Why would they? 27 points last night by the Chiefs. Their offense gave you 20. Pick 6 for the win by Justin Watson. Their defense was lock solid. Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr. couldn't have played better last night. Derwin James, double leg spine buster to Travis Kelce. Loved it. Asante Samuel Jr., I think that was an interception on Patrick Mahomes that they reviewed, for Christ's sake. Reviews. But that was, to me, that's a pick. I don't know how it isn't an interception. But anyway, they balled out. What Chiefs wide receiver had a great night last night? Mecole Hardman dropped every ball that was thrown to him. Kelce was just waxed the whole night. Justin Watson on a big play. I give him credit. That was a hell of a play down the field. But that was a splash play. Other than that, it was a quiet night. Mahomes didn't have a whole lot of time because that secondary locked guys up. They had no time. They had no space. And Brandon Staley's a defensive-minded head coach. He has a defensive coordinator background. If I see that my defense is playing fantastic, which they are, and the fact that my opponent are the Kansas City Chiefs, and in the back of your mind, you have to think, well, these guys are going to put up a ton of points. So we need to outscore them. We need to match them blow for blow. So we need to take some chances here to play to win the game. And they never did. It's perplexing to me that he just remained conservative the whole game. He played scared. He didn't play to win. Why Brandon Staley? And I have to look at the media. Brandon Staley's being criticized maybe more than any coach last year because of his stance on fourth down. And believe me, I criticized him too. There are times when he's in his own territory in the first half, when you're on your 15-yard line, I don't think going for it on fourth down makes a whole lot of sense. Punt the fucking ball. But when you're at midfield and you have a 4th and 2, go for it. Go for it. You can drop a play that can work. I have one for you. First half last night, there wasn't a play that Mike Williams couldn't beat Rashad Fenton. Rashad Fenton, the corner, they were playing man-to-man on Mike Williams for most of the game, which is still perplexing to me because there's no Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is the Y receiver. He goes inside, outside. He can do whatever the hell you want. Mike Williams is an X, where his skill set is more limited. He can go down the field. He's definitely more of a burner than Keenan Allen. But what's his body type tell you? He's a physical wide receiver. Jump balls, in tight windows. He's got a big body. Well, Rashad Fenton didn't have an answer. Chiefs corners aren't that good, I'll add to this mix. But Mike Williams in the first half, 5 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown. He was torching them. He had over 100 after the first drive in the second half. So if you need a play on a short fourth down, throw it to Mike Williams. He's going to beat Fenton. I know so. How about give it to Austin Eckler? Run pass option. Keep it with Herbert. His ribs weren't hurt yet. You could have had that option. I don't understand why you are the most aggressive head coach in the NFL last year. And people are starting to adopt your mindset. We saw Mike McDaniel this past weekend, 4th and 7 against the Patriots. Threw the slant to Jalen Waddle, ends up being a touchdown before the half. Really, that ended the game. It was 17-0. That was curtains. In this case, he kept the Chiefs in the game by not going for it, by not putting his foot on the gas. He strolled through the game, la-di-la-di-da. So you go through the game. Like I said, Mahomes is having limited success. He does go on a touchdown drive where he found Jerick McKinnon. And they had those plays, but it was a frustrating half for Mahomes. He didn't have a whole lot of time. The secondary locked people up. And Joey Bosa was a flat-out problem last night. He stuffed the run, tackles for loss, and Derwin James, like I said, was a flat-out baller last night. But in the second half, I mean, Mahomes answers with a quick drive, but then it's stall. Mahomes can't really stay in the pocket. He's got to move around. He's got to do what he can to, to do what he does. But it was just a conservative fest from both coaches. It really was. Beginning the fourth quarter, Andy Reid kicks a chip shot field goal to tie it at 17. He didn't have faith that his offense, because they had 4 times last night. It was 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2 where they didn't get the first down. And I hated some of the play calling last night for the Kansas City Chiefs on short yardage. Beginning the first drive of the game, they're chugging along. I think CEH looked fantastic last night. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think he's looked really good the first 2 weeks. But on a 3rd and 2, you do a reverse handoff to Mecole Hardman. I don't love that play. I don't love Mecole Hardman as a player. I think he's really unreliable. I don't think he's got a great feel for the game. He makes poor decisions. He drops a lot of balls. He's not Tyreek Hill 2.0. I heard that before the year. He's going to be the replacement to Tyreek. No, he isn't, because he's not reliable enough, and he's just not as quick. But that was perplexing. And then you check Clyde Edwards-Helaire out, even though he's been breaking through tackles. And on a 4th, 3rd and 2, you throw a wide receiver screen that they know is coming. That's nowhere close. Mahomes didn't have time to. Just their 3rd down plays for the Chiefs were bad. Offensively last night, the Chiefs, just their play calling, their efficiency, the way they approached it was garbage. It really was. It wasn't close. It wasn't good. It was the Chargers were better. And then in the fourth quarter, with 8 minutes left, Chargers are moving down the field. They're taking the approach of the Chiefs is just chunk yardage. Herbert would throw the ball to Eckler. He'd move, get 10 yards. Next play, you run the ball with Josh Kelly. He gets a few yards. Throw it to DeAndre Carter, who I think will be good for the Chargers this year. He gets a first down. And they just methodically move it down the field until they're tackled at the 1. Then now you're 1st and goal after a big play to Gerald Everett, who was stuffed just close to the goal line, right? And Gerald Everett on this play, and they pointed this out, Herbie pointed this out in the broadcast, and he's spot on. Or no, where did I see this? Louis Riddick pointed this out on Twitter, and he's absolutely right. So Louis Riddick of the Mothership. Gerald Everett made that big play on the 3rd down. He was stuffed just before the goal line. He was gassed. He had a good game last night, but he was gassed on that play, and he wanted to check out. But they did it. High tempo, quick offense. He didn't have time. The next play, Herbert throws it back to Everett. He was slow getting out of his break because he was tired. And you have a pick 6. Justin Watson, a 7th round pick, jumps the route and goes 99 yards for the score. And that was the game. Chiefs added a field goal, and the Chargers scored a late touchdown to screw me over on the backdoor cover, one of the greasiest backdoor covers I've seen. But it was a tentative night. The Chiefs shouldn't have won that game last night. The Chargers were better across the board. Offensively, defensively. I even think to an extent coaching, because I think coaching was bad on both teams last night. I didn't see many adjustments from Andy Reid offensively. I didn't see him change it up. I didn't like his play calling on short yardage. Herbert was as good as Patrick Mahomes. What I will say, what was a key contributor in the win as well, was injuries to the offensive line. Corey Linsley left the game with a knee injury at center, all pro. Then they lost Pipkins Jr., Trey Pipkins Jr. at right tackle. He goes out for the game. And that's when Herbert started to get hit. The Chiefs lowered the boom on Herbert a few times. He took some big hits. They were clean, I might add. I'm glad there's no flags on either of them, because you see that all the time now. Those were just good hits from players. Right as he threw the ball, and he clearly had a rib injury that he'll have to deal with, that they got to hope is not too significant. But I give credit to the Chiefs defense, who didn't have a great night, but when they needed to, they made a play that the Chargers did not. But I see Writers joining us. I want to get his thoughts on Brandon Staley and what happened to the guy that we used to know and love. But we bring Ryder in here back for his usual stint on a Monday, on a Friday. Sorry, Ryder, what happened with Brandon Staley last night? He was so conservative. We're used to seeing a guy that's going for it on fourth and shorts, and he didn't. I thought he played with no edge last night as a coach.
Yeah, I felt the same way. It just felt like they were very hesitant to, use their weapons. Um, it was weird. And as you mentioned, like I just when I come on, I caught you there for the last sec. You were saying that's not the typical way they play. So it was surprising. I'm not really quite sure if that was a game plan going into the game, but it just seemed like those especially the fourth downs was some surprising calls, some very surprising play calls.
Yeah, because I thought coaching on both sides was pretty poor last night. I hated some of the run calls for the Chiefs on third and short. Like their first
Yeah.
drive when they gave it to Hardman, I hated that play because Clyde Edwards-Helaire was having so much success running up the gut. And not to mention, Ryder, my thought was the Chargers defense couldn't have played better last night.
Hmm.
Derwin James, Asante Samuel, they locked. Kelsey didn't even have a big night. Like the big splash play for that touchdown, but that secondary is never going to have that good of a game against KC again.
No, agreed. And as you mentioned, Kelsey, I went 3 for 4 last night, and Kelsey receptions is what I missed out on. So,
Right.
so I guess you got to credit the Chargers defense there and their secondary. But yeah, it was very surprising the way I think it was a good football game. Don't get me wrong, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed the game. Like it was a close game, kind of how we expected. For people who bet a tie, great call on that. I had Chargers +4, so I did hit on that pick. But to me, I was surprised with the way how the game unfolded, and I thought the way the teams were playing, I thought like yes, the under hit, but with the way the play calls were, I thought you could have seen way more points in that game than I think the coaches limited the point scoring really.
Same here. With so many short yardage plays, and even what like you had Mike Williams was just dominating Rashad Fenton. It was
Whole night.
all night. Like fourth and two, throw him the jump ball. Like just
Mhm.
throw. Like, he's gonna beat him. Like he did it the whole night. One thing I liked about the Chiefs, Ryder, is Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks like a different player to me. He looks like a guy that he's gonna get a real run at running back now, all
Yep.
fun, and actually get a look because he's running between tackles. He's brushing off tacklers. He had that big 52-yard rush at the end of the
Mhm.
game, which really sealed it. I'm impressed with him in the first 2 weeks for the Chiefs.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing I was surprised about was they went away from him in the second
Yes.
quarter. Like they stopped feeding the ball, but I mean, I guess it worked out because I mean, what we saw what he did in the second half of that game, especially in the fourth quarter. But yeah, he looks like a whole different player. He looks like he's running with confidence. He's running knowing that if kind of one of those things in hockey where it's you're better players. If you make a turnover, you're probably getting back on the ice the next play, right?
Right.
Where it seemed like it kind of maybe one of those things where he was like, I got to rush just to make sure I'm, at some point get the ball back again. But he's running with confidence, and especially his runs up the middle, like you mentioned, he is
Mhm.
just blowing by defensive coverages.
What did you make of Herbert's theatrics after the rib injury and him lying around, and then he had that weird 3rd-and-1 play where he had about 5 yards for a first down, but then he threw it on the ground, which I was like, "What the hell is this?" I obviously he was hurt, but I thought it was a bit much last night from Herbert.
Well, it hurt my fantasy because I have Herbert, even though he still put up 24 fantasy points. So he still had a pretty
Yeah,
good game.
yeah,
Yeah, it just seemed like the whole second half of the game, the whole focus of the everything kind of just turned to Herbert.
yeah.
They kind of got away from the game. Like the whole fourth quarter was really revolved around Herbert. It's like, well, guys, there's more than just Herbert going on here. Like,
Right.
um, it was weird with the way the announcers kind of handled the fourth quarter. I thought, and I don't get me wrong, I love Kirk Herbstreit. I thought they called a really good game. I like having them around. I don't know what your thoughts are on the call last night, but yeah, Herbert. It just the theatrics. There was a little much going on for my liking as well.
Yeah, I was curious about your thoughts as obviously I go on Twitter to check things out, and that's just a cesspool of negativity as it always is. But I liked Herbie and Al together. I thought they were good. I thought a few times Al threw him like, what should they do in this play? I remember he said that in the fourth quarter, and Herbie was kind of quiet. He didn't pipe in, so I think he
Mhm.
missed out on some of those cues. But
Yep.
I think they'll get better as the season goes along. And I even Herbie got interviewed by Andrew Marchand, and I listened to the interview, and he said he wants him and Al to be considered the best tandem in the booth ever. That's his goal. So I like that he's kind of being brash about his what he's looking to accomplish with Amazon and with the NFL.
Well, with any job you want to come in, you want to do a good job, right? You want to set high expectations. Like if you were coming into a job, say, I just hope I do a mediocre job and I'm just somewhere, I think people will be okay with it. And you're like, no, like you want to have people that are striving to be the best, and
Right.
trying to improve every day, right? If you're not improving every day, then you're falling back, right? It's a way to look at life, I guess. But I think they're only going to get better. Especially more broadcasts, right? It's just their first one. There's going to be it's a feeling out process. I'd like to think I'm a little bit more confident coming on here with you now than I was, a year ago, right? Just
Right.
things flow better with time, right? Experience together, and I think they're going to do a great job. I think it's a good addition. I'm very curious to see what the thoughts in the States were being on Amazon Prime. I'm wondering how many people missed out on the game last night.
Yeah, I was thinking that too because people got to adapt because I think in the next cycle Apple's going to have a partnership with the NFL. I think they'll have rights to something. I think it's naive to think that Fox, CBS, the mothership are going to have these broadcasting rights forever. I think we'll see a pivot in the next 5 to 10 years. Apple, Amazon, these big streaming services, if they want to be in the NFL business, they will because they have more money than these other companies.
Right. Well, at one point it was just Netflix, and now look at all the streaming services there are. So I
Yeah.
think it's going to be the same with sports. You see it happening in the MLB games. Yankees games going to Apple. It's moving in that direction. I hope it doesn't move all the way in that direction, but there definitely will be more options for sporting events on ways to watch events. I see one of the broadcasts though shut down the live the other day. I think that was maybe Apple.
Yes. Yeah.
That that's interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah, that they're kind of picking a side there. They're picking
Yeah.
baseball, saying no to live. So yeah, intriguing.
Mhm.
What was more painful last week? Your I can't even get the question out. It's too
What's
funny.
more painful? Wow, can't wait for this one.
Yeah, your Patriots offense or just Notre Dame as a whole?
Oh no, I think this one's an easy answer, and it's Notre Dame as a whole. The Patriots we know they have struggled in Miami. That's no question. This
Hmm.
is a year where, like we said before, we're not looking at, 13-4 or 12-5. Like we're looking at 8-9, 9-8.
Right.
Yes, it wasn't great. It is week one. I'm not Yes, I'm upset with how the game went. I wanted to see a win. I think it was a very important game, a must win for the Patriots. They didn't win. They didn't play well, but the Patriots have lately, they're notorious slow starters too. So
Hmm.
I'm okay. I am upset. I'm not anywhere near Notre Dame. That's just, oh man, that was tough Saturday. That was tough. Just from the start of the game onward, it's just not a good feeling. Not a good feeling after from the offense we talked about. It's not good. It's very not. It's this. I don't know. This is just like I can't even talk. That's how just mind blowing I am from like that loss. Their defense not
Pretty
great.
good.
Marshall shouldn't be putting up. They're a Sun Belt team. No, nothing against the Sun Belt Conference. They went 3-0,
Yeah,
which
they had
is
a good day.
crazy. But that's a game. You're at home. Your
Yeah.
home opener. You're Notre Dame. You can't lose that game, and especially when it comes to recruiting purposes. And you're paying money for Marshall to come in. You paid over $1 million for him to come to your house and beat you.
Right.
It's it's the offense. I'm worried. I like Williams. I like their coaching staff, but this is the worst Notre Dame loss I've seen in easily 5 years more. This one hurts because I don't see where they're going to get better, I think, right now. I think that's the problem. Where it's not one of those where, oh, they blew this game, but they're this great. This is worrisome for me as a fan of the program.
Yeah, they lost their quarterback for the
Yeah.
season, so now they're going to the backup. Like you said, I feel for Marcus Freeman because he kind
Mhm.
of came into this. Brian Kelly knew what he was doing when he was leaving. To me, obviously it's about the money, but
Yeah.
it's easier to recruit at LSU, and I think he saw it was kind of drying up there at Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman, I mean, he still looks great at 0-3. I'll tell him that. He's a handsome guy on that sideline. And I root for him because I
Yeah.
like him because he's a good story and I want him to succeed. But I agree. This season's done.
So done.
Cal this weekend, was it minus 13.5?
Yeah. Minus minus 13 and a half.
I'm buying that cover.
Of course you don't.
Well, I had Marshall on 2 tickets.
Yeah, and it was a great bet. It was a great bet. I mean, if someone would have gone with just Sunbelt conferences, $10 ticket, they probably could retire right now.
Right.
It was a crazy week of football, but yeah, no, for Notre Dame, it's tough, right? I just don't see where the program's going to go for the next few games. As a fan, it's scary to see, because offensively in football, you have to score points. Like at the end of the day, it's not like hockey where you can win 1-0. Like football, you have to put points on the board. And it just doesn't seem like they can do it. And especially now losing their quarterback. Wow, it's not a good look. And the schedule doesn't get any easier.
No.
That's for sure.
Let me ask you this. Am I crazy or is this fair for me to say that 5 wins would be considered a good season now?
No, I don't think that's fair because the expectation is higher. So you can't, with 2 losses, you can't look at it and go, oh, if we get 5, like successful season. No, if you finish with 5, this season is a waste.
This based on the circumstances now.
No, I still think you can't say that. I still think you have to have a goal to make a bowl game. I know we say bowl games don't matter, but Notre Dame has to play in a bowl game. If not, if you don't play in a bowl game, your recruiting just goes way downhill.
Yes. I just look at like USC, that's a loss.
USC's looking good, man.
Yeah, they look North Carolina, that's a loss. North Carolina put up 60 on Notre Dame.
Well, that's the problem. North Carolina can score points. So hopefully, if they can't score points against North Carolina's defense, then I don't know if I can come back on this program again and talk Notre Dame football if they can't put up points against UNH's defense.
They're fun to watch too, North Carolina. I like watching them. But yeah, they don't have an easy schedule.
No.
But I think it would show a lot of resolve if they can turn, like you said, get to at least a bowl game, show some fight over the next couple weeks, and not because they're really going downhill fast lately. How about your Pats? Obviously, they lose to the Fish, who didn't really look great offensively themselves. Tua was Tua. Mac Jones hurt his back. Now they're saying he might have COVID or he's got some kind of illness. Patriots offense, they got the Steelers this week. What did you make of just the Patriots as a whole in week 1?
Well, it's kind of what we talked about going in. There's just not enough weapons up front. There's just not enough guys to throw the ball to. I thought they could have got more out of the run game as well. I did think they kind of controlled the play a little bit.
Second half for sure.
Yes, definitely. But you have to be able, like I just said, you have to be able to put points on the board. And I just feel as though there's just not enough around Mac Jones. And Mac Jones is still a second-year quarterback. Like, we can't expect Mac Jones to be a Tom Brady. We have to understand that there's going to be growing pains here. Not every quarterback's going to, I look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen wasn't to where he was. I'm not going to compare the two, but Josh Allen's second year, he wasn't Josh Allen like he is now.
Mac Jones is farther ahead than Josh Allen was at this point.
It takes time in the league to grow into the league. So this year, I think you're going to see some more growing pains, but offensively, they're just not generating the play calling I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about the Patriots right now. Kind of like Notre Dame. I'm at a loss for words with both teams because I just feel as though it's kind of a changing of the guard, I guess, in my fandoms where the teams I'm watching don't have the talent around them to produce offense. And it's as a fan, you want to see offense. And one thing the Patriots are good though, they're well coached. Let's not pretend that they aren't well coached.
Well, I'm gonna push back on you there. Offensively, no, they're not. They got Joe Judge and Matt Patricia. Those two buffoons are two of the biggest loser head coaches we've seen.
That fair point. Okay, fair point. That is fair point. I guess I have to look top down and hope that Belichick can rally the troops here. But yeah, it's not a good look. Let's see what week 2 brings. I think Pittsburgh looked better than I thought they were going to week 1. So I got to give props to Pittsburgh. I think another must-win game for the Patriots. I don't like them in the game though. I think I like Pittsburgh a little bit more, especially with Mac Jones being questionable. And with Mac Jones being questionable, I don't know who they would go to if he's not playing. I don't like their
Hoyer, right?
Hoyer. Yeah, and Hoyer's been was a great backup behind Brady. I don't think he's a great backup behind Mac Jones.
Yeah, they don't got Stid anymore. They traded him to Vegas, so he's now the backup to Carr.
Yeah.
Let's start with that game when it comes to betting lines in week 2. We got Pats at Steelers. Steelers +2. So you're leaning.
I hate to do it, but
I'm surprised the Pats are a favorite in this game.
Yeah, I am too. I especially it's in Pittsburgh. Generally, Pittsburgh wins those games when they play.
Home opener.
I have to lean. I think I'd take Pittsburgh to win H2H outright win. Head to head. I think on that game, I mean, if you have 2 points, kind of a useless number, really, but I think you'd take Pittsburgh outright to win.
Yeah, I'd have to agree because the Steelers secondary played fantastic last week against Cincinnati with all those turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Their pass rush will be limited because
yes.
TJ Watt is obviously hurt, so that helps. I think for the Pats to win this game, they need to run the hell out of the football.
100%. I need a big day. I have Harris in fantasy. I'm putting him in, and it's you have to run the ball. You have to feed him, and they has to put up yards. They have to slow the pace down too, and they have to be successful. But even if you run the ball, you still have to make some passes. Like you can't just run the ball. You have we saw that last night with these run plays that would get 1-2 yards on third down. Like you still have to pass.
Yes. That's a tough one. I don't know if I bet that game. That one scares me. Because
I don't think I'm going to bet that game either, Jug. That's one that scares me, and especially as a fan, I don't like betting against my team. So if I don't have to, I'll stay. If it's like a Sunday night or a Monday night or a Thursday nighter, I will throw something down. But if I can avoid not betting against my team, I don't think I'm going to bet many Notre Dame games from here on out.
I might. But yeah, I feel the same as this game, both teams are battered a little bit. And I mean, that Steelers won the game just somehow. Like they should have won the game so easily. They came down to the wire. So they got to figure some stuff out there offensively. Let's start with some of these games with their lines that are, I think, just crazy to me.
Crazy for week 2.
So let's start Atlanta at SoFi playing the Rams. Rams -10.5. That's a big number.
Well, you saw the the Falcons blew it last week.
Should have won that game.
They should, but +5.5. That was I did hit on that pick. I was very happy. I was very confident in Atlanta going into that pick. 10.5. You are throwing up especially after a week 1 loss to Buffalo. Right. 10.5 is a massive number in the NFL. I am all over Atlanta +10.5 if you can get the number on that. I don't get me wrong. I still think the Rams will find a way to win the game, but 10.5 is a big number. I like Atlanta +10.5.
I do as well. I think their offense is better than people give it credit for. That wasn't the reason they lost last week. Stupidity and just I think some bad coaching at specific times. But Kyle Pitts only had 2 catches and they put up 26 points. Mariota ran for 72 yards. Cordero Patterson ran for $120. So they put up 200 rushing yards last week, Atlanta, and Mariota threw for 230. I mean, they had a really good offensive week against a good Saints defense, where the Rams defense last week was just a sieve.
Yeah.
So plus that offensive line, I mean, it's the Rams got to prove it here. I think that's a crazy, crazy number.
Oh, me too. And kind of one theme I think we're seeing, we're mentioning it, and you've been mentioning it on the pod a bit lately, is what is going on with, it seems the last couple of years, this bad coaching play game management. Like it seems like I know we can be, couch coaches, we all are, but it seems like in NFL more than any other sport, man, there just seems to be some bad play calling.
100%. It's just like in the big moment stuff. Just it's, and that the one Monday night. I mean, that's just an inexcusable error there.
Yes.
But like you said, the McCarthy last year in the playoffs for the Cowboys. Like, what the hell are you thinking? A design run with no timeouts and you can't spike the ball. That one comes to mind. You got just decisions to kick field goals. But again, the Rams, I expect the Rams to win this game, but I like Atlanta to cover. I think you get 10.5. Like you said, that's a touchdown and a field goal. You still win.
Yeah, I could see the Rams winning by 10.
Yes. 40-30. Great.
Yeah.
You still win your bet. So 10.5. Let's go Texans at Denver -10.
Give me the Texans at -10, at +10. Like,
Right.
what did they do last week to prove that they should be a 10-point favorite?
Nothing.
Like, nothing. Absolutely nothing. 10 points. They couldn't score 20 points. How can you give them 10? And the Texans were better than what we thought going into week one. Like, I know the problem with week one in the NFL is there's so much hype around each week that you got to get the blinders on to what a full season is. Kind of the opposite of the MLB, where the MLB, you can go a bad week, and you're like, okay, well, it's a long season. NFL is one game, win or loss. You're like, you're way high on the wins and way down on the losses. But to me, there's some lines, there's some gettable money this week. If you're a bettor, look at this week, because I think there's some easy money to be made. I mean, I could say that we could all go 0-8 this week, but
right.
To me, I take the points all day with the Texans.
I would as well, because Denver, I have no faith in. I would take Denver to win, just like I would take the Rams to win. But the Texans tied a division rival. And to me, you know how I feel about the Colts. I think they're as good as Denver. I mean, Russell Wilson, he didn't play well the other night. I don't care what anybody says. He didn't throw a ball to a wide receiver until about 4 minutes left in the first half.
Yeah.
Dumped the ball off to Javonte Williams a ton. You lost to Seattle. Come on. You lost to Geno Smith, for Christ's sake. So I'm with you. I like the Texans. This could be a good little parlay, a little big number parlay.
An underdog's parlay.
Yes. Let's finish off what you think about this one. Seattle at San Francisco. Seattle getting 8.5.
Man, I feel like just put me on rewind. Give me the points again. I understand that what Seattle or what San Francisco played in, those conditions were not ideal. I completely understand that. That being said, give me the points. Like 10 points in the NFL is not 10 points in college. It is a completely different game. And 10 points, what Seattle did, you know what? Let's ride with Seattle. I don't know about you, but give me the points again.
I'm with you. I like it too. I like San Francisco, but I think this will be it's a division game too. Those are always closer. To me, this could be easily a field goal game, and it wouldn't stun me if Seattle won it. After I watched San Francisco week one, they left a lot to be desired there. They got to clean some stuff up. It's a big opportunity for Trey Lance. It's a must-win for San Francisco, quite frankly. They need to win this game.
100%. If they don't win, I'm going to see porn star Jimmy in my lineup week 3 for fantasy.
Yeah, because he'll likely be paying. Seattle has this whole season as house money. They have no expectations. They're just playing to play. Geno Smith that can tell everybody to shut the hell up every win he gets. So that's another one. I agree with it. Those 3 games, I'll give me the points. How about Bears at Green Bay? Bears getting 10.
Give me the points. Give me the points. I understand the Bears are terrible. I do understand that. And I understand
Green team's gonna win by more than 10, though. You know it's gonna happen.
Oh, I know. But you know what? On this one, give me the points again. Division, like we say, division game. And you look at, man, Rodgers looked pissed off after the first throw of the game last week.
He did.
He does not like his options out there. He is not happy. And in fairness, first play, guy drops a touchdown. Like, you need to catch that ball. That's like, I catch that ball. And they just seemed out of whack offensively. I understand last year they got blown out week 1, and then they went out and put a stomping in week 2. But I like the points again. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think I liked what Justin Fields was doing. But I understand, like I said last week, that game in the rain, that's an anomaly for sure. It's a different, you can't judge 1 week based on that game, because it's really a different type of football all in general. But I am looking at it and I'm saying, give me the points.
Like I said, one of these games, a team's going to win by more than 10. I just feel it's going to happen. I like Green Bay. The Bears stink. That offensive line, I'm going to take the I'm going to take the Packers -10. If I was betting, I think that's the way I go, because I think the Green Bay defense has to show up. Last week, they have a really, really good defense, and the Bears offensive line is just straight horrible. Like, it's brutal. I think this could be a tough night for Justin Fields, and they could just feast on him. I think of the 4 we've talked about, I think the Green Bay has the best chance of winning by more than 10. So that's why I'm leaning Green Bay to win by 2 scores.
Yeah, like I said, I asked for the points, but that being said, I do understand what Chicago is as a football team. That being said,
the Super Bowl.
Listen, that being said, this week, my word is give me the points. If anyone asks me any question this weekend, it's give me the points. I'm taking the points again. You know what? I am all after what I saw in college football last weekend. Give me the points.
Yeah, I hear you there. Let's go to some early games. Bucks at Saints. Saints +2.5.
Yeah, so we know what Tampa Bay is in New Orleans. They do struggle in New Orleans. That being said, we talked about this last week. I find New Orleans, even though they came back and found a way to win that game against Atlanta, I find New Orleans the most overrated team in the league. I love Tampa Bay -2.5.
Me too. I like them the Saints have won 4 in a row against them. It's going to end here. I believe that. The Saints defensively, like I said, didn't have a great week last week. Jameis Winston didn't start playing until the 4th quarter. I didn't know he was active. It was good to see Michael Thomas catch 2 touchdowns. He has some, but yeah, -2.5. I could see the Bucks. I could be a close game, but I also like you. I like my biggest thing to watch for people betting. I might wait to bet this game until Sunday morning, because Julio's on the injured list. Russell Gage is on the injured list. Chris Godwin isn't going to play. He's got a hamstring injury. Mike Evans is on the injured list.
Yeah.
If a lot of those weapons aren't playing, it's going to be tough for the Bucks to win in New Orleans.
Agreed. Julio Jones looked like he was 10 years younger. Who was that guy on the field last week?
When I saw him run a jet sweep, I said Julio is back, because we've never seen him run this fast in 3 years.
Unfortunately, now he's back on the IR. So, but no, this is one where I think Tom's only going to get better, but yeah, he needs some weapons out there. There's only so much he can do. But I still like the Bucks.
I like the Bucks as well. Low scoring game. How about, this is an intriguing game for me that I didn't think would be in week 2, but I think I might watch some of this game. Panthers at Giants. Giants -2.
Yeah, this one here, this one could go either way. I feel like the Panthers really let both of us down. I was high on the Panthers. I told the people to take the Panthers on here. That was my lock of the week, and not a very good lock of the week. So I need the Panthers to recover. That being said, I'm not a Panthers fan here. I just like them in week 1. Right. So I don't want anyone to think sitting here saying Matt's a big Panthers fan. This is one that I kind of like the Giants, I think, but I don't think I'm going to bet this game because I can't really get a feel for it. So I'm not going to say yes or no either way. I may look at the over in this game, actually. I think the over could be a play. If you look at the number, it's 43.5. I think that could go over.
Maybe
Um,
over rushing yards combined
I
for the
I may
entire
look at a
game.
player pick rushing yards as well. I think maybe that's a great idea. That's one thing we didn't really get into last week was the player picks. And the other thing, crazy, pro line was down on Sunday. So right before the game started. So I wasn't able to get any player picks in on Sunday. And I normally like doing 2 tickets. I like doing a NFL ticket and I like doing a player picks ticket.
Right.
And the player picks were down, but that's a game you could look for some player picks in. But I think I'm going to stay away from betting that one because I don't have a good feel for it.
Me either. I the way the Panthers run defense looked last week, they were Nick Chubb was just doing whatever the hell he wanted. So I think that signifies that Saquon could have a big week for the Giants. But like you said, minus the Giants being a favorite always scares me because they're just not a good football team and their offensive line isn't great and they got Daniel Jones. But I'm like you, I'm not betting this game. I might watch some of this game because it intrigues me, but I don't love betting it because I don't have a great feel.
Yep. No,
Jets versus Browns. Browns minus 6.5.
yeah. You know what on this one, and this is crazy to say too. It's 39 and a half's the score. I may look over on this game.
Right.
39. Give me the points. Give me the points on the Jets. I can't believe I'm saying that. I can't believe I'm saying that. And they did not look good week 1.
No, they did not.
Give me the points. Give me the point. If I have to pick, but this is another one where I'm not loving this game. I'm not licking my chops to watch this game.
No.
And I don't see. I think if I was gonna bet it, I'd bet the over. But if I had to pick one, give me the points. But I just the Jets. They still. That's another rebuilding year for the Jets. Cleveland did have a good week 1, but I don't. If Nick Chubb can do what he did last week against the Jets, I mean, you could see Cleveland winning this game by 2 touchdowns too. So it's another one, Jug, where I think I'm just going to stay away from giving a prediction just because I don't want to lead people the wrong direction. I don't have a feel for this game as well.
Like you, I wouldn't bet it. If I would do anything, I might take Nick Chubb player pick, just for rushing yards. I think that could be a good play for people. I also might take Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown. He's just a touchdown machine. When he gets into the red area, he seems to find a way to get into the end zone. He had 2 touchdowns last week. So that might be some player props, but yeah, like you, I'm not picking Joe Flacco or Jacoby Brissett. I can't do that to myself betting. Colts at Jags. Jags +4. This is a must-win game for the Colts.
Man, once again, your Colts last week. Your Colts, my Raiders. My Raiders, your Colts, right? But they salvaged a tie.
Yes. And then they cut their kicker.
Then Blankenship is gone. Goggles is gone, unfortunately. So they're going to be looking for a new kicker. Seems to be the theme around the league. Kicking and offensive line play was just terrible in week 1. So those are two areas where I think that teams will be looking to improve on after week 1. To me, must win for the Colts, like you said. I do like the Colts right now. Actually, the line is down to 3.5. So people are looking money on the Jags, but I like the Colts in this game. But the Jags is a one where Trevor Lawrence, I think, needs to start winning some football games as well. So this is one where I think it's a must win for both teams.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Jags going 0-2 in the first 2 weeks against Washington and the Colts. I before the season when I was doing my predictions for wins, I had the Jags winning this game just because I thought they'd beat the Colts once and they're at home. So Trevor Lawrence didn't play great last week. He left a lot to be desired out there where he wasn't consistent enough for my liking. Matt Ryan wasn't fantastic either for the Colts. Jonathan Taylor had a good game per usual. +3.5. You were comfortable with the Jets. I'll take the points I'm riding with my Jags. I got to stay with them.
Yep.
But
I think that's a fine pick too. This is another one where honestly it could go either way. I don't have a great feel for this game. I seems like I don't have a good feel for anything right now, but
After week one, it was anarchy. Everybody
yeah.
that it was just cover, and the college football Saturday was like this as well. So that everybody's mind's a jumble. Interesting fact: the Detroit Lions have not been a favorite in a football game since November of 2020. They are a favorite this weekend at home against the Washington Commanders, which is a little bit surprising to me. Were you surprised that they were the favorite in this game, Ryder?
Yes, I am. I am. Just because I mean, yes, they came back and made it a close game and really killed me because I had Philly -7, just ruined me last week. But
Greasy backdoor cover.
it was the greasiest backdoor cover. But a backdoor cover doesn't mean you played a good game. They were
No.
terrible for 3 quarters. Like they put up what 17 in the fourth. Congratulations, you still were never in that game.
Agreed.
So to me, this is crazy that they are a 2 point favorite. And last time they were a favorite, do you know what the score was?
I do not know that.
They lost 20-0 at home. The last time they were a favorite.
Of course they did.
Of course they did. They lost 20-0. To me, this is more of a pick 'em than it is a 2 point favorite.
Right.
I kind of liked what Washington did last week.
Me
I
too.
thought I thought they played a pretty good football game, all facets of the game, really. Dotson had a big game. I think that this team is underrated. Washington, all the talk has been around Philly, and that's to me that's justified. It is justified that Philly's going to win the division, but Washington always gets pushed behind Dallas, which I don't think is fair to Washington. Now Washington also gets a bad rep because their owner sucks, their field sucks. They're not building the brand of Washington. Their team name sucks, but I think they're actually a pretty good football team. So I think this is kind of a must win for Detroit, being the favorite. Like you have to win at home if you want to have any credibility. I kind of like Washington.
Yeah, after watching their game this week, I'm I like them too. I thought they did a lot of positive. I also think you get a jolt when the Cowboys are done. You see them and you're like, okay, we could make the playoffs. Like we could win this division. Who
Yeah,
knows? Carson Wentz. I like when he's throwing 4 touchdowns, 2 picks because he's being aggressive. In Indy last year, he was so conservative.
yeah,
He was gunslinging. I'm okay with that. Like you said, they got McLaurin. Dotson had 2 touchdowns. Logan Thomas is a great tight end. He can catch anything.
yeah.
Their defense isn't fantastic. I think what would be if Washington will win this game if they can stop the run because DeAndre Swift looked like a superstar
Oh,
last week.
he killed me last
Phenomenal.
week. I was matched up against him. He put up one hell of a day. And on that, actually, the line has moved. Now it's -1 Detroit. So people are putting some money on Washington by the looks of things.
-1. I'll take the Commanders like you. Maybe Detroit still wins the game, but you can get a greasy cover there.
Yeah, it's to me that game's a pick 'em, and between just the looks of both teams, I have to go who looked better last week. And to me, even though Detroit put up more points, they still didn't look good for 3 quarters. I have to look Washington on that one.
Arizona at your Raiders. Raiders -5.5.
You know what? I love the Raiders here. I think Arizona, if New Orleans is the most overrated team in the league, I think Arizona's right there with them. I think Arizona is number 2 most overrated. And it showed last week against a good Kansas City football team.
They were terrible last week. My God.
The Raiders lost. The Raiders do lose the close games where they should find a way to win once in a while, but they were also playing a good football team last week, and it was a good football game. To me, I like the Raiders in this game. I just think they're a touchdown better. I think that we saw, adding Adams, what he can do to the mix. I do love Derek Carr. I know you like Derek Carr. I feel like you're also going to be on the Raiders. I'm on the Raiders with this game.
I'm right there with you. To me, Arizona just looked so putrid last week. No facet of the game, they look good. Kyler didn't look good. Their running game, their defense was a sieve. Coaching, I never liked their coaching. Cliff's just standing over there, handsome, but whatever. That's all he's got to bring to the table. But yeah, I like Vegas to rebound. They need this win too. They're at home. They need to win this game with their division and how Chiefs are already 2-0. So you need to try to stay in the hunt here. Another big number. Cincinnati on the road at Dallas. Dallas +7.
Yeah, I think this is the easiest lock of the week to me. Give me Cincinnati -7.5. That's my lock of the week. I know you might not like it. Look at your face. I am loving Cincinnati -7.5. I know it couldn't have been, it was not good. It was not good offensively. It was not good. They turnovers, missed extra points. They should have won that game. You miss an extra point at the end of the
Yep.
game. You got to find a way to win that football game. As bad as they played, as crazy they were still in that game. I like Cincinnati -7.5. I'm curious to see your thoughts. That's my lock of the week. I'm putting it in. Lock of the week, Cincinnati
You're
-7.5.
saying if you had to bet one game to get a correct cover or anything, you take Cincinnati.
Uh, oh, you know what?
What about your Falcons?
No. I like the Falcons on the points, but I don't like. To me, yeah, I'm going lock of the week. Give me Cincinnati.
So you like Cincinnati outright win? That's your lock.
I like Cincinnati overset to win by more than 7.5.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I'm in. I just feel like I feel like if they don't go out and put up a statement against a Dallas team who has their backup quarterback in, Dallas looked awful on
Awful.
Sunday Night Football. I think if you can't go up there in there and win by 10 points, then the wheels start to fall off. They say, okay, the Super Bowl, this was just a, flash in the pan. This team actually isn't that good. Maybe we're overstepping on Cincinnati. Maybe that was just a, one lucky year they got hot and got on the run. I think they need to go out and put up a statement this game.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I just something Cincinnati, they looked off last week, and Dallas looked off too. So it's just two teams that couldn't have played much worse last week. Cooper Rush is in, so you got a backup quarterback. He beat the Vikings last year in his one start. Team was much better than it is right now, I'll add. Yeah, I'd probably take Cincy -7.5, but I have a weird feeling about this game. I think Dallas could keep it close, but again, Cooper Rush, the receivers stink. Micah Parsons is gonna have to be the folk hero for this game to stay close, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He's going to have to be the hero. This isn't one, though. Like I said, I'm betting this game. I'm not very interested in watching this game.
Right. Right.
This is one I love. I do love Cincinnati on the pick, but I don't think I'm going to sit there and watch that football game.
You might have to. The 5 o'clock games, there's not that many great ones.
No, with the moving to the two Monday nighters is a little interesting this week as well. I don't quite sure why they're doing that so early in the year.
Seattle Niners is an interesting game. That might be the one for me to tune into. I like. Is that a 2 o'clock game or I think that's 5 o'clock.
No, that's a 5 o'clock start.
Good. Okay, I want to watch that game. Last 2 o'clock. I left this one because this is an interesting one for me. Miami at Baltimore. Baltimore -3.5.
I think this is a great game to watch.
Yes.
I think this is one I'm going to have on. I love what Baltimore did last week. Statement game, I think, by Baltimore. I know they're playing a bad Jets team, but I liked what they did. I thought a statement by the defense, actually. I think the defense isn't getting enough credit. Lamar Jackson, I think, answered a lot of critics. I think you could see Lamar Jackson try to do what Aaron Judge is doing this year on not having a contract and just going out and balling out. There's money to be made for Lamar Jackson this year if he goes and balls out.
Agreed.
So to me, I am, and this is tough because, Miami did play very well against the Patriots, but I think it was more the Patriots played bad than Miami played good. I like Baltimore.
3.5. I thought it'd be a bigger number, quite frankly. I thought it might be like 7, and I might take the fish to cover. But at 3.5, I think the Ravens will win this game. They're like you. I think they're a better team. I think defensively the Dolphins are strong. It's with Holland and Xavier Howard in the corner safety positions. But offensively, I don't have enough faith in Tua. They had a scoop and score last week, and he put up 13 points offensively. Like that, it would have won by a touchdown. against Mac Jones, who had one great drive the whole game. So yeah, I need to see more from Tua, and I just have more faith in Lamar to, like you said, the ball. And I think he's motivated as hell to show some people up and to show people in Baltimore what he's really worth. I like the Ravens at home. And as you said, two Monday nighters, a doubleheader on Monday night, which I don't love the way they set it up because one starts when one's halfway over. So you
Mhm.
basically, I mean, I'm going to have two screens, but if you have one, you're going to miss half the other game before you get to the start of the other. So that's not, I don't love the setup of that. I wish it was, say, a 7 o'clock start and then a 9:15, something like that. But,
Yeah.
I'm not making programming here. Let's start with the first one. Titans at the Bills. Bills -10.
Yeah, well, honestly, just to throw back to the programming, I think that's a big thing. I think they're missing out on a lot of value here
Yeah.
because these are, to me, two really
Interesting
good football
games.
games, two of the
Yep.
best games of the week,
Agreed.
especially what Minnesota. I know we're going to get to it in a sec, but to me, I think I don't know if you're someone who really only has one option of choosing and having to flip back and forth. This is tough. I think they're losing out on viewership doing this. I like you said, 7 o'clock. Do give me that all day? But I just don't like this 8:15 and 9:30. I think it's honestly they're losing money on it. But going to Buffalo, Tennessee, 9.5 is another big number. Tennessee, in my opinion, just really underperformed, and I think they are going to take a step back this year. Um,
Agreed.
I don't love the number. I don't love the number. I do think Buffalo wins the game. I don't know if I'm going to throw much money on this game. I think I maybe looked at some player picks in this game,
Right.
but I think I may not. I still think Buffalo. Oh, nine. I'm going to take Buffalo to cover the points. If I had to bet on it, I think I would take Buffalo to cover the points because I do just think Buffalo's better. But I don't love the number 9.5.
Me either. I would probably take the Bills because the Titans just were so inept last week in in particular second half against the Giants, where they didn't hardly put up any points. So they're missing AJ Brown already, which is a big sign. Derrick Henry didn't have a great game. That offensive line isn't what it used to be. And the Bills look so great in week one, so I expect them to put up some points. You might want to take Josh Allen over rushing yards potentially. Maybe you go with I like a Gabe Davis anytime touchdown. He always seems to find a way to get into the end zone. He's a guy for me that's just a touchdown machine. So that could be a good player prop as well to look at. But it is a big number. But the Bills home opener, I think the fans will be rowdy there, in particular after winning week one and such a long break. To me, the best game of the week, right, is Minnesota and the Eagles. And
By
it's,
by
go
far
ahead.
the best game of the week. By far the
I,
best game of the week.
Yeah, and it's kind of hedged on like I said, Monday night, the second game, and I get ESPN wants to have both of these games. They're both two pretty good games, but if people have to pick, I'm watching Minnesota and the Eagles all day long. That's the game I'm watching. Screw Bills Titans. I'll watch later in the week.
Yeah, I think Minnesota, what they did last week really kind of we've talked about Minnesota
Yeah,
and what they can be like as a team. And they put on a show. I think a big coaching move, good coaching move, because unfortunately, I think Zimmer kind of wore out his welcome in Minnesota. They just couldn't get it done. I think a coaching change was needed there.
agreed.
And it's made a big difference in week one. And Philly did what they needed to do in week one. Even though, like we said, they only won by 3, they really won that game by 14.
Yeah,
Um, they were in control of that game the whole game. I think one thing that I really noticed from week one is it just shows that the importance for quarterbacks to have one main target. Like you saw the guys that have moved and the quarterbacks that kind of struggled. Like, and then you look, there's only really, yes, there's a lot of good receivers in the league. There's really only 6 or 7 elite receivers, and they all played really well in week one.
yeah.
And here you got AJ Brown, you got Jefferson. Like this is going to be a great game, I think.
Yeah, I don't mind taking the Minnesota +2. I'll tell you that. To cover or
I
to win
Yeah,
because
I kind of like the
Philly.
over. It's
Yeah,
50. Last night at 54, I stayed away from it. I was like, I think this game's going to be 49 or 50 points, and it was 51. It's 54
right.
is a big number, at 50.5, I think these teams can go over 50.5.
I agree because Minnesota, like you said, the passing game, the Eagles they scored 35 points last week with 4 rushing touchdowns. They have a lot of different ways they can score points. Minnesota can score in one big play if Justin Jefferson gets open or Adam Thielen for that matter. But I like Minnesota like you. I think the Eagles, like you said, they deserve the hype. Their defense was horrible, and in particular the fourth quarter in week 1. But I don't hate the pick of picking Minnesota on the road to get a big upset win to start their season.
I love that. I feel like we're kind of on the same boat here this week. Just with, I think the one thing that people need to, especially if you're gambling, the lines really matter. Especially if you're a spread person, you really got to look at those lines
Yes.
before you make your picks. The lines are so important. But on this one, to me, this game is more of a pick 'em as well. I like the points for Minnesota. I also, like you said, I kind of like Minnesota for an outright win. I wouldn't be surprised if either one of these teams win this game. And I feel like both of these teams are going to have really good years after what we saw for week 1. I hope this game lives up to, our hype on here. But if you're looking for a game to watch, Monday night, there's going to be a lot of good football.
Yeah, Monday night's a great week this week because then you got Giants, Cowboys the following week. So maybe that's why they double dip because they can't flex out of that game.
Why does Dallas, I understand they're America's team, but why do they keep getting these games, man?
They must draw so well that they have to keep putting them on.
They just must get the ratings just must be still too good not to.
Yeah, because they don't deserve it. Oh, it's like the Leafs getting primetime games. They don't deserve it. They haven't won anything in 30 years, 50 years. They suck.
Yeah, that's the conversation for another day, but I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. Before I let you go, college football this week, I got a few games that really kind of intrigued me with these. They're talking about how important lines are. Now, Oklahoma is only a 10-point favorite against Nebraska following Scott Frost getting fired. I get Nebraska's at home, but I think Oklahoma's winning by more than 10 points. What say you?
Yeah, the number has moved to 11, so I think people are seeing that number and go. I think you could see that number go up closer to about 13 points by Saturday. Because to me, that's a stupid number. How is that only 11? That should be more like 17.5.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm jumping on that the second we get done here. I'm betting even if it's at 11. I don't care. I'll take.
Yeah, I may have to run down and do that now because that's to me that's an easy. After we get off here, I think I might have to get that pick in early because that's easy money. I do believe that. Even though I thought I was bad last year at college football. I honestly said last year I just was not seeing the board.
Right.
I am even worse this year. I am just not seeing the board. NFL, I'm okay right now. College football, I started hot. Week 0 of college football, I went 3 for 3. And I was like, I am seeing the board. And right now, I am just not. I think just the upsets were just so surprising last week. But this is a week in college football where week 3, week 4, you don't see a lot of great matchups. They kind of build the bigger matchups in later on in the season. This is one of those weeks where it's like, okay, we've had kind of the big week 1, week 2, we had a few matchups. You don't see a lot of great matchups this week. It's not the best week for college football. That being said, I think there's money to be made this week in college football.
How about fresh off one of their biggest wins in recent memory? BYU beat Baylor last week. They're plus 3.5 at Oregon. What do you think about that game?
To me, that's the best game of the week. If there is a game of the week to watch, that's the one. You're looking through the rest of the games. There's nothing that really jumping out too much.
Michigan State game's gonna be sneaky good.
That could be sneaky good. To me, that's looking like it's going to be the game. Actually, on college football, we get our schedule. I'm heading to Boston with our prep school team here in a couple weeks, and we get our schedule for the event tomorrow. And we only play one game Saturday. So as long as we don't play before, 5, as long as we play before 5 o'clock, I think I'm going to be going to Louisville and Boston College.
Nice.
So I'm very excited for that. I've never been to as much as I love NCAA Division I football, I've never been to a game. So
that's awesome.
That's fingers crossed on that one. But no, to me, BYU, they have had a great program. for many years. They have done a really good job of developing, bringing in recruits. They seem to always be in the top 25 every year.
Yeah.
To me, I think last year was actually a little bit of a they lost some games they should have won last year. That's a huge win against Baylor. We know you. I think you may have had Baylor in your Final Four.
Did. Yeah.
So our brackets are done.
Done. Done.
Done.
Well, Baylor, if they win the Big Ten, I say if they win the Big 12, they can still get it.
They would have to, and we both. What are we going to see from Bo Nix on the Oregon Ducks?
Bo Nix. Like, I'm taking BYU plus 3.5.
Oh, I am all over BYU. I'm on BYU outright win on that game. I do believe. I think they're a better football team.
I do too. I don't understand even how Oregon's a favorite in that game. Makes no sense to me. But how about Penn State plus 3 at Auburn?
Yeah. So just before we get in, I'm looking at the line right now. So BYU is ranked as a better team. How is Oregon a 3.5-point favorite?
I know. I don't get it either. I saw it. I was doing research last night. I said, "What the hell is this? Aren't they like 9th BYU or?"
I see. I read that line wrong because I was under the impression that BYU was minus 3.5.
No,
What the hell? Okay. Wow. No, I love BYU even more now.
Yeah, I love them. Hammer them. Penn State plus 3 at Auburn.
I think could be a good football game. I do like Penn State in that game, I believe.
Me too.
I like Penn State outright win, I think too. I think on those close like plus 3 scores, at plus 3, I actually think it might even be better just to take them outright to win. I think you're getting more bang for your buck.
Right. The U at Texas A&M following A&M's disastrous week last week where they lost to App State. They lost College Game Day. They're not going to App State tomorrow. Can you believe that they were supposed to go to College Station and they flipped it and now they're going to App State this weekend?
That's crazy. That just shows you how embarrassing of a loss. What's the worst loss last weekend? Is it Notre Dame? Because to me, it's not Notre Dame. To me, it's Texas A&M.
Good. You know, I didn't think Notre Dame was any good. So that's not a big surprise to me. App State's tough. App State's tough. Kansas, West Virginia.
Yeah. To me, I think the biggest loss last week was Texas A&M at App State.
Yeah, App State's tough. That's a tough
to me,
loss.
Texas A&M. But I talked about it. I don't think Texas A&M is very good, and we saw that last week.
Yeah.
So, oh man, I have no faith in Texas A&M to win many games this year.
Yeah, I don't have much faith in either team because I don't think the U is that good either.
No, I don't either.
I wouldn't bet this game, quite frankly.
No, this is one I'm going to stay away from. Actually, this is one of those weekends. It actually works out good on my schedule where we're away for our prep school team. We're doing a team builder at a Green Hill Lake camp. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Just a nice spot about 45 minutes away. So we're there all day Saturday. Back Sunday morning. So I'm actually not going to be watching much college football this weekend. The good thing about that is Sunday I am going to be all over the NFL all day. And luckily enough for me, like I said, there's not a lot of big games this week. I think one team you have to keep your eye on in college football is you talked on it earlier is USC. They are answering all the critics, in my opinion.
Yeah, would you take them minus 13 against Fresno?
Yeah, I think I would. I know that 13 is a lot, but in college football, 13 is more like 6.5. When you have a good team, I like you, and I like what USC is doing. Fresno's a sneaky team, but what USC is doing, they've given me no reason why I shouldn't bet on them.
Yeah, they look good, and with their schedule, it's not that tough. Like they got a pretty easy road now.
Yeah, especially Notre Dame. You mark that as a win.
It's gonna be, and the committee will want them in because they're USC. So I wouldn't be shocked come the end of the year if they're in the college football playoff, and I wouldn't hate it either because it's new blood. That's
100%.
Me and you talk about this all the time. We want new teams. We're happy Cincinnati got in. I'd be happy with USC, and if they ended up getting there in one of the biggest turnarounds, the quickest turnarounds in recent memory in college football.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. No, I'm sorry, Jug. I'm still wrapping my head around Oklahoma, Nebraska -11. This
I
is
can't believe
just
it. I can't
I
believe it.
am I'm shocked on that number. But
Like
to
a new
me,
like new coach, like I
yeah,
don't get
you
it.
know, I don't think a bump for new coaching does much in college football.
No.
I
No.
I think it can in a longer season like a baseball or an NHL
Yeah,
season,
like
even
look at the
basketball.
Phillies. Yeah.
But to me, college to me, that's a crazy number. Yeah, it's mind blowing that, like you said, Troy and Appalachian State is where the committee
Yeah.
is going to.
Right. Because I think Herbie has to go to App State, which is in like North, whatever. I don't even know where it is. And then he's got to go to Texas Station because I think I don't think they're calling Michigan State and Washington. I think they're calling A&M and the U at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I think the goal when they do these shows, the goal is trying to keep people in one place the whole day.
Right.
And they're not doing that this week. And they specifically moved where they're going. Like that, if that's not a shot to Texas A&M football, I don't know what is.
Yeah. And plus, I think last week it was in, oh, where were they last week? Texas. He had to go to USC or he had to go to Stanford. So he had to fly out to the like West Coast. Like he's got a tough gig, man. Like it's fun, but it's a lot of travel. Kansas City, now he's going to App State, then he's got to go to Texas. Like that's a big week for Herbie.
Oh, absolutely. And on the Stanford note, it was nice to see Andrew Luck. He was in attendance.
Yes.
He's there's another guy who not all players want to play 20 years in the NFL or in sports. We saw it with Megatron in Detroit. Andrew Luck was a hell of a football player, first overall pick. Kind of left the game. Some would say way too early, but you know what? It's nice to see that. Nice to see him on screen. He kind of keeps a low profile for an first overall pick.
Yeah, he's never done an interview about him retiring since, which I'd love to hear that. Maybe that'll be another untold documentary someday about why he did it and just kind of get into his background. But I agree. Good to see him and that voice that's just so familiar. Before I let you go, I have to ask you about the Jets today. The Winnipeg Jets stripped Blake Wheeler of his captaincy. That's not the way they put it, but that's putting lipstick on a pig. He's not going to be the captain. They have a bunch of leaders, Rick Bowness changing the culture, if you will. What'd you make of the move?
It's always an interesting move in sports when you remove, especially a captain. When you remove a captain. When I was playing midget AAA, we removed an assistant captain. But it's always a shake to the locker room. But this one is Blake Wheeler's been a long time captain in Winnipeg too. He's done some good things in Winnipeg, and Blake Wheeler is very passionate, and sometimes his passion can lead to some interesting comments and stuff.
Right. Like Shifley.
Yeah, they're something does need to change in Winnipeg. I think we can all agree on that they did not have the season that they wanted to have last year. I think the expectations were higher than what happened. So that you do have to switch things up. We saw it in San Jose when they removed the captain from Marlowe, I believe it was.
Yeah, for Jumbo. Yeah.
Right, and it is a switch. Now, when that happens, there's two ways that it can go. It can go good, it can go bad, right? And it's really up to the players. What's the locker room? If the locker room's okay with it, at the end of the day, it's really just a story, right? It's just a story that will eventually kind of fade away if the locker room's okay with it. But by the sounds of things, one thing they're trying to change in Winnipeg is the locker room. They're trying to change how the team is operated in the room. So it's one thing too. Blake Wheeler is declining as a player.
Yes.
He did not have a very good year last season.
I don't think he'd be on the roster if they could find a team to take his contract. I'll put it that way.
I think that's a fair point. I think that in this situation, sometimes drastic change has to happen. I don't know whether it's the right move or the wrong move, but obviously the organization felt this is the way they had to go. So I think we can all agree that Winnipeg needs to have a better year than they did last year. And sometimes you can't change personnel. So you have to do other things to shake up culture, shake up the team without trading players. You can't fire the coach, right? You just did that. So you have to find ways to shake things up, and sometimes, and the other thing too, we gotta remember it's hard to get players to come to Winnipeg. It's hard to get free agents. So this is one of the moves where they're doing this to shake up the roster and hopefully lead into the season. And like we said, this could be a good thing for maybe Blake Wheeler too, right? Maybe it takes a little media pressure off him having to answer media questions every night when he's playing on the third or fourth line.
Agreed. I'm looking forward to watch Winnipeg this year because, like you said, they always have big expectations, and they've been one of the most disappointing teams over the last 3 or 4 years. Because I thought they would have been close to a Stanley Cup, and they've never really gotten there. Well, Ryder, have a good team building trip this weekend. Enjoy that. Enjoy the NFL, and as always, good luck on your bets. And we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, buddy. I need it. I mean, I've always been in the situation where it's like, looking at the board, man, I had a tough week, but it's never week 1 or 2. It's normally later in the year.
Midweek
So
snooze.
what's that?
Like a mid-season snooze.
Yeah, exactly, but not to start the year. But anyway, I appreciate it, buddy. Always appreciate coming on, talking football, and enjoy your weekend. And I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Sounds good. Talk to you later. It's Matt Wright. Always great to have Ryder on every Friday, as he has so far this NFL and college football season. Really appreciate him giving his time. He's a busy guy, and you can follow his stuff on Champions Hockey on Facebook, Instagram, every social media platform. You can find him at Champions, at Matt Wright 89 on Twitter. So he's always got some takes when Notre Dame takes a loss. He's normally got a comment about them, so that's always worth a laugh. And he's got some good thoughts about a lot of different things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend. Ryder talked about how the college football games aren't what they were last week. I totally agree with him. I do think seeing the upsets, we might see some more craziness this weekend, though, with some lines. I mean, the Nebraska only giving 11 points, hammer that. I think we could see Michigan State get a big win against Washington potentially. So there is money to be made. There are some good bets, and we'll talk about them on Monday. Enjoy week 2 and enjoy week 3 of college football, and good luck on your betting. We'll talk Monday. This is To The Point.